How you doing, subscriber? This is Harper. How you doing? Happy Sunday. Yeah, happy Sunday. I've been in my own sacredcy today. And I know I've been away and I haven't been showing my face, but I am. Because today is a relaxation day for me. And I want to bring a discussion before you. Of course, you guys know I love politics. You know that. I look at it and I study it. But happy Sunday to you. And hopefully you subscribe to my channel because I got more commentary for you. And I like doing commentary. So bear with me. And I'm going to also pull news stories up when I get my equipment set up and I can take time to do that. Because YouTube gave me some problems. So they wanted me to stop live streaming for various reasons and to use different equipment. Okay? But today, as you can see in my title, I want to talk about the Central Park 5. You know, and I got some analysis to shed on this because as a black man, we've experienced a lot of similar things in the country. And I'm one of the people that I consider myself peculiar because I've been through a lot of different things in life, you know, and I have. So, you know, Central Park 5, me and my buddies got together on Saturday night last night to get together to watch Central Park 5. It was a couple of us because we didn't want to watch it alone. And we're about the same age those gentlemen were who were wrongfully incarcerated. Wrongfully incarcerated in terms of that allegation of raping a white woman. They were children, little kids, 14 years old, 15 years old, and 16. And they were sent to prison. And it was a very horrifying exchange. And so I want to talk about that right now in Central Park 5 due to the fact that we have a lot in common with these stories as black people. Because the thing about it is, when we got ready to watch it, my buddies, they said, hey man, you don't want to watch this alone, so let's watch it together. So we got wings, we got cherry Coke, whoever owns Coke, we got cherry Coke, we got wings, we got chips, we got dip, and we sat around to watch this movie because we like to be informed. And it was a series, I mean. We were already looking at the articles and stuff like that, and one of my buddies called me from his job and was telling me about it. And we all was just looking at stuff, you know, because we would like to learn. We don't want to be left out. And it's not just about watching a series, it's also about watching what the Hollywood is showing us as well. In my group, we don't just watch. It was a good series. It told the story, but also we had to look at what Hollywood was doing. And we're going to get into that. We're going to definitely get into that. But first, I want to let you know, I want to say congratulations to the gentleman that suffered this horrific exchange and welcome home to you guys. Congratulations to you, and thank you for being strong and brave young men to go through that horrific exchange and make it through. Welcome home and welcome to the life that was snatched from you and that you never got a chance to really know. And now you can gather. So welcome and thank you. Central Park 5. Okay, so that's first what I want to say to my brothers. Those are my brothers. You're my brothers, and I welcome you. And my heart is with you. So, yeah, we got together and we watched it, and it was not easy for me and my buddies to get through that film. It wasn't easy at all. It was actually really hard. And throughout the film, we just kept hollering, oh, no. I mean, and we were in tears. We were quiet. We were angry. I mean, it was like we were really hurting about this. And, you know, we got to the point where we had to grab our laptops and just kind of like do two things at one time. And then when intermission came, we started sharing stories about what we've experienced. It was one of my buddies from Florida, one of them from Georgia, the other one from Detroit, you know, from Lordstown, Mississippi. We had to really talk to each other about what we experienced and what we didn't experience because of this. Now, watching this film, Central Park 5 film, well, the name of the film I didn't say is When They See Us, the series. Watching this made you want to stay out of prison in every way possible. But the fact of the matter is when you zero in, and you really don't have to zero in, the whole narrative of the story, the whole center of the story is they didn't do anything to be in prison. They didn't even do nothing. They didn't commit a crime. So, but it makes you want to stay out of prison in every way possible. But also it gives you the realization of you don't have to do anything to be in prison. The wrong place, wrong time. Especially if you're black. And we experience this. And I don't care what you say, I'm not a race baiter. But I'm telling the truth. I'm a truth teller. So when we were children, when I shared my story, there was a time where I was in a situation where I was riding my bike at 12 years old. Me and my big cousin, and he was like 15 and 16. And we kind of went on the backside of the hills to ride because we like going bike riding. And we were out in the country. We call it the country. We're from lower Mississippi, small town Mississippi, where we were riding in the country. And so we were riding by the lake and all that stuff, and in our Rankin County area. And so if anybody know Rankin County. So what we was riding around there, my cousin Gary and I, and we went past the mayor's house, and we were just like bike riding, And sooner or later, it was a still quiet moment, and there was a big white car, a group of white men drinking and hollering, and they stopped and they started calling us the N-word. They got behind us and tried to run us over on the bikes. We were all in the ditch. We were trying to gather ourselves, and they were screaming and laughing and trying to run us over. So finally, they ran us, and I left my bike and I started running, and it was a whole thing. So finally, another people came behind them, and they pulled off. And we were crying, and there was a white lady and a white man who pulled up. And we were crying and screaming and trying to flag them and get help. So they stopped and they backed up the vehicle. And the white lady and her husband she said, "Are you crying?" We said, "Yeah." "Yeah, we're crying." And she said, "Well, I thought you were laughing. You guys are crying so hard." She got out the car. It's bothering me. So let me get through this, because I felt this as a child. She got out the car, she hugged us, and she said, "Oh my God." She said, and the white man, he got out the driver's side, he put our bikes in his trunk, and he hugged us and told us, "Oh my God." And she said, "Get these babies in the car." So they got us in the car, they took us to safety. And their safety was at my grandmother's house. And my uncle was there. And my uncle wanted to know what happened. We told him what kind of car. And it was the Coglins. The Coglins owned a store in town. And the Coglin boys was out drinking and saw us riding. And these were white men, So my uncle went and searched them and found them. And he talked to them in such a way, because my family is very strong people. And like I said, they military people. And my uncle went to them, and we had no problems or so forth. And my uncle said this, so that happened to us. Now, I'll make mention to one more story. I'm sorry, guys, because that was very hard. And I'm thinking about the fact that these were children. We were not grown men. We were kids. That's what you got to understand about Central Park 5. Also, these were children. These were not grown-ups. They were kids. So here we are. So here we are in the next moment of my story that I have to share. In high school, there was a gentleman in high school that was 21 years old by the name of Mitchell Tiger. He was calling me the N-word, and I was only 15 or 14, I believe. And I just got into the high school department. So he asked me, "Do you believe I punched you?" And he grabbed his hand back and punched me in my face. My nose was swole. He punched me, and it hurt. And I saw stars. He punched me, and they were laughing. Him and his group, they were actually laughing. So what I did was I politely walked away, and I went into the building, the high school building, where the cheerleaders practice. And I grabbed the spirit stick, and I came out the building and started whacking this man, grown 21-year-old man in high school, upside the head with a spirit stick. And I'm good at basketball, so I know where I want to go with something. And I was banging him upside the head with the spirit stick. And he was hollering, "He cracked me, he cracked me." So the principal ran out the office and ran all the way up to the fight and tried to break up the fight. And I was very angry, and they couldn't get me calmed down as much. So they got me calmed down. They tried to suspend me for a long time and expel me from school after this and let this older 21-year-old man come back to school. Well, my mother had already been to college. She was out working. She's an intellectual, her and her constituents. They came out to the school to talk about the situation. They didn't like what they heard. And I was standing there with my mother, and she told the principal and his wife, she said, I will see you at the school board. So we left there, and I skipped the part. The next day, all of my friends were concerned. They were worried. And so they went back to school, and my big brother and all of the cousins and stuff, they went back to school, and all of the neighborhood people, and they wanted to fight because the white people were threatening. They were all of a sudden threatening. Now, this is a situation where one person can start a racist situation or a prejudice situation. Everybody jumps on board and double in, and everybody gets in trouble. The same thing with the Central Park 5. That lady, she wanted this case to go through. She had an iota about these gentlemen, these kids, and everybody got involved, even the police officers. That's how it happens. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. So basically, that happened to me, and everybody got to fighting the next day. So in my school, so everybody got to fighting over this race war that I'm talking about, or whatever, in high school. And so what happened was the other parents got involved because now their children are out fighting about what happened to me with this guy named Mitchell Tiger. Unfortunately, he killed himself years later. Poor guy. He was depressed. So I don't want to hear about people taking their lives, but he did. Mitchell Tiger killed himself. So anyway, the constituents, my mother's constituents, they got together and they got to the town meeting in town hall. They used the facility in the town to actually have meetings about the situation when their children were affected. So their children were suspended for 5 days, 3 days, which are successful people now. They are successful. A lot of them are college graduates and they're successful people. But there was a race war in my high school with people who are now successful, okay? So, yeah, I want to put that in there. They're successful people. So, after they got this done and all of this stuff happened, the parents got involved. Well, my mother and them strategically looked into this, and they end up getting a victory. The principal had to resign and made the newspaper, him and his wife. They found out, my mother found a glitch. My mother knew that a secretary, his wife was not supposed to be a secretary in a school. The principal's wife was his secretary. So they end up getting in trouble and resigning. And they lost the schoolhouse through this event of a child being told he can't come to school because a grown man punching him in the face. And I got into a fight with him and I used a weapon. So that was unfortunate. So I ended up going back to school too. So, but I didn't, she wanted to pull me out of that school, and later on I did. But I ended up going back to prove a point. Okay? So, this was in the 90s, of course. The early 90s. So, yeah, so that happened, and they lost this situation. Well, later on, not only did the guy, Mitchell Tiger, kill himself, the principal, he shot himself and he shot his wife. I'm not saying that this is good that this happened. This is just the story, okay? Not saying that it's good, and I'm not saying that I hate white folks. I love white people. I love all people. I'm not saying that. But this is what happened. We stand for what's right. So this is what happened. So we can place ourselves in the same story of the Central Park 5 on different avenues. Not to say we have faced something as horrific as what they experienced by going to prison and being sent to prison pipeline. But a lot of people have, and a lot of people have faced worse in terms of them being black in the society. So what happens is basically, let me get myself together because that was a lot. But basically, you got people that start trouble, like the white woman who write about the crime novelties and writing crime books, and this is her first big case. Well, she should be locked up. She should be locked up, and anybody else and any of our constituents that knew and knowingly that these gentlemen, young men, these babies were innocent. Anybody knew these babies were innocent. And she pushed them to go in prison because she thought they had no value and no worth. So she committed a crime. You don't just give them $41 million and let it go. She needs to be held accountable for this. And the police department. And she's the DEA, the police department, the prosecuting attorney, and everybody. If they find out even more that these gentlemen were, and wrongfully, knowingly, that the police changed their stories. They were so serve and protect, they raised the right hand and took an oath. And they should be arrested. They should be punished for what they done. They could have gotten them killed. They have made these people come into the life of convicts. They live like dogs in jail. And those guys were put in the prison system for nothing, and they were children. There should be something done about that. This is what black people are talking about. And this is why we deserve like a reparations, okay? Because a lot of us experience these kind of things. A lot of us experience. That story was not hard to get through because it was something done wrong to somebody. It was hard to get through because we could place ourselves there. It was familiar to us being in situations like that. So it was hard to watch. The series was hard to watch. Now, this may seem strange to you that I want to try to change this a little bit, because I am. But what I don't appreciate is the narrative that the Democrats are pushing. Because I know the Jews run Hollywood. And they are trying to push a socialist atmosphere here. And they are pushing a narrative in black and brown coalition. We don't want that. Everybody else got capital and stuff. We need you to zero in on who we are and correct our problems as the descendants of slavery in the country. Not black and brown coalition. Okay? That's not what we're looking for. Okay? So, because everybody else has been corrected. We are the only ones have not been anchored properly in terms of our sufferings through our government policy. So, they're using this film. It's a great film. It tells a story. But unfortunately, I believe that the Democrat Party and Hollywood is using this film to swing your vote in 2020. And they don't want Trump in office. But now, wait a minute. Like I told one of my homeboys, I don't see Trump doing nothing but doing prison reform. I know he's doing sanctions with countries and stuff like that and leaving out the country too much, if you ask me, because we got a problem at the border. Okay, and then he doing prison reform. He gave $100 billion to poverty communities, lower middle class and lower middle class communities, where there's a lot of black people who have suffered in the country due to not having a fair shake of being in the war on drugs throughout the CIA. Okay, so Trump is trying to help on that. So I don't see anything that the Democrat Party is doing that deserves my vote. We got Joe Biden, who wrote the crime bill, running around telling people that it had nothing to do with mass incarceration, which he did with his arrogant self. We got President Clinton, he apologized. So I would say Donald Trump, and they're pushing Donald Trump in this because Donald Trump said something about Final Fantasy V being the death penalty at the time and gave $83,000, I think, or $63,000. Well, he apologized for that. Now I see him apologizing. So if Cornel West can push for Joe Biden to apologize so blacks can get his votes, so black can vote for Joe Biden, and Donald Trump won't get a chunk of the black votes, as Cornel West said, then why can't we accept Trump's apology? So we can accept Joe Biden apology and Clinton apology or Bernie Sanders, but we can't accept Trump's apology. So what you're telling me is we can't go forward? We got to stay in the same place and let you finesse our minds? So Donald Trump apologized. He's doing prison reform. Just because you're pro-American does not mean you're racist. Donald Trump is pro-American. I don't see him harming black folks. Now, his budget may have affected a lot of black people that are poor. I understand that. I give you that. In this housing situation with Ben Carson. What I think is black people don't understand that we were supposed to be on code in terms of illegal immigration. Due to the fact that the Democrat Party was not on code, and they didn't allow this man to do their job, the government to actually exchange in their job, and we start protecting illegal immigration and got ourselves involved. That was not our fight. That was not our fight. We got involved.